At 7:05 p.m., Sheremetyevo Airport was jammed with more than 40,000 holiday travelers. None of them knew a warhead-level explosion was already forming just 7 miles away from them. In a snowy clearing outside Moscow, a Gazelle van with a painted Santa quietly unlocked its roof. Inside were 10 armed drones, not toys, but a strike team built to hunt a $120 million Il-76 being loaded with caliber cruise missiles on the runway. And to reach it, the drones would have to cut straight through 3 Pantsir batteries, the S-400 Watch Zone, and the Kasuka 4 EW Shield. How did it manage to do it? How did a holiday delivery van become the most dangerous weapon Moscow never saw coming? From the instant the drone team lifted off, the mission split into layers. Each layer was designed to defeat a different part of Moscow's defense network, and that network wasn't light. Sheremetyevo's security bubble was one of the thickest in Russia. There were 3 Pantsir S-1 batteries guarding the approach lanes, a Kasuka 4 electronic warfare system saturating the area with interference, and, farther out, an S-400 division scanning the capital with long-range precision. For years, Russian state TV bragged that nothing small, fast, or improvised could get through it. That belief ended on this night. The launch inside the clearing followed a sequence timed down to milliseconds. 10 drones rising together was how the swarm had been programmed to survive the first minute, the deadliest part of the mission. 4 Baba Yaga heavy drones, each weighing around 20 to 25 kilograms with reinforced frames and large antenna arrays, climbed first. Their altitude was chosen to be exactly that. 46 meters kept them low enough to stay off long-range radars, but high enough to give each one a clean line of sight for spoofing and jamming operations. These 4 were the so-called brains, the electronic tools that would bend the air defenses just long enough for the real killers to slip in. Below them, 6 OSA FPV drones burst forward. Each carried a shape-charged warhead between 700 grams and 1 kilogram, which is enough to pierce aluminum, fuel lines, and even the thin armor of certain vehicles. They accelerated to nearly 145 kilometers per hour in seconds and dropped into the freshly used departure lane of the Aeroflot A320 that had taken off minutes earlier. That path involved suffering from engine heat, turbulence, and, most importantly, predictable radar echoes. What made the entry even more precise was the digital trick behind it. Someone had breached a real-time navigation data feed, turning a normal commercial departure corridor into a perfect disguise. Flight Radar 24 data is delayed for public users, but the military feed is not, and someone inside Ukraine clearly had access to the live version. The drones locked onto that exact curvature and followed it meter by meter. Inside Sheremetyevo's control perimeter, one of the Pantsir crews was already awake. At 1904, the 96 L6E radar, which the battery borrowed from a nearby installation, picked up 6 returns at around 24 meters altitude. The movement pattern was uneven, the speeds were inconsistent, and the radar cross-sections were tiny. These were classic signs of civilian holiday drones. The lieutenant on duty had seen this pattern before. During the Christmas holidays, drone hobbyists always cause trouble. He chose the fastest option: fire 1 missile and clear the air. The Pantsir fired a 57 E6 Intercepto, an 89-kilogram missile that cost around $200,000 and reached Mach 3 in seconds. At that distance, the drone didn't stand a chance. The explosion registered as a bright white flash on thermal cameras. The operator confirmed the hit and prepared to cycle the system for the next target. This single moment triggered the swarm's transformation. As soon as the system logged the kill, the remaining OSA drones cut every active connection they had. They severed their digital links to the Baba Yaga mother drones and stopped transmitting even the faintest signal. Their radio signature went dead. They turned into silent objects moving through the sky, guided only by onboard mapping, optical navigation, and their preloaded corridor data. Inside the Pantsir cabin, this looked like the targets simply disappeared. But that disappearance opened a dangerous new phase. Baba Yaga number 2 switched from passive observation to full electronic warfare mode. Its spoofer module activated with a steady burst of false signals, each one perfectly shaped to match the radar signature of the OSA drones. The Russians suddenly saw 5 targets again. This time, they were moving upward, slowly drifting away from the airport, behaving exactly like civilian drones losing control in cold weather. The Pantsir's computer followed the decoys without hesitation, and while the first battery focused on the ghosts, Baba Yaga number 3 targeted the second Pantsir battery. This drone carried a 20-watt directional jammer tuned specifically to the X-band frequencies that Pantsir radars rely on for short-range targeting. When it fired the beam, the second battery's scope clouded instantly. Its operators couldn't see the sky, couldn't see each other, and couldn't tell if anything was actually moving toward them. With two batteries sidelined, the OSA drones advanced through the lowest and most dangerous airspace around Sheremetyevo, the ground-hugging band where even the best radars struggle. But this success came with a price. The Baba Yagas, now blasting high-power signals into the sky, created a footprint that traveled far outside the airport's bubble. The energy bounced off frozen terrain, hangars, and even passing aircraft. By the time it reached Dubna, around 90 kilometers away, the signal had gained a sharp signature that the S-400 radar could classify instantly. This was the real threat. The S-400 doesn't chase small drones. It scans for command links, jammers, airborne nodes, and high-value electronics. And the Baba Yagas were exactly that. The 92 N6E Gravestone radar locked onto all four mother drones at once. To the system's logic, they were the nerve center controlling a hostile airborne operation. In any other situation, the battery would wait for manual approval, but during a heightened holiday security period, the protocols were looser. Two 40 N6E missiles received authorization. These were the largest weapons the system could use. 400-kilogram missiles with almost 200-kilogram warheads designed to strike targets beyond 370 kilometers. They were meant for AWACS planes and electronic warfare aircraft, not drones. Inside the swarm, warning algorithms flickered on. The Baba Yagas carried passive sensors capable of detecting long-range radar locks. They recognized the signature of the S-400's targeting sequence and executed the emergency response Ukraine had built specifically for this exact scenario. This was the last trick left, and it had been prepared months earlier. Baba Yaga number 4 deployed a plasma flare. This wasn't a normal decoy flare used by jets. This was a compact plasma generator that produced an artificial heat signature thousands of degrees hotter than any drone engine. The moment it ignited, the flare's apparent radar cross-section surged to nearly 10 times that of the swarm. To the S-400, this was not a drone anymore. It looked like a burning aircraft undergoing catastrophic engine failure. The Gravestone radar instantly rewrote its priority list. It shifted its lock from the 4 small targets to the single massive plasma echo. Two 40 N6E missiles launched. Sheremetyevo never heard the launches. They were too far away. But 8 seconds later, the sky to the north lit with 2 premature detonations. The missiles struck nothing. The plasma flare had fooled one of the most advanced air defense systems in the world, buying the swarm the seconds it needed. And while Russia's long-range missiles burned out in empty air, the 6 remaining OSA drones kept moving toward the Il-76, now completely inside the airport's blind zone. The hardest part of the night was only beginning. OSA-6 broke ahead of the others the moment the swarm slipped into the airport's blind zone. Its camera rolled through static, then cleared. It showed the exact shot mission planners had rehearsed for months. The Il-76 sat on the loading bay like a steel whale. Cargo crews moved crates into its open belly. Floodlights washed over the fuselage, and under the left wing sat the weak point that mattered more than everything else: the main fuel tank's thin aluminum skin. One puncture there could trigger the kind of chain reaction no air defense officer ever wants to explain. The drone dipped low, adjusted its pitch, and committed. This angle was chosen for physics. A shallow strike would only peel metal. A straight dive would pierce deep enough for the warhead to bloom inside the tank, where it would do the most damage. At 140 kilometers per hour, the drone hardly appeared on radar. To the airport cameras, it was little more than a blur. OSA-6 hit the wing with a violent punch. It was hard enough to deform the metal panel, and then silence. A half second of total stillness. Inside the warhead, a delay fuse held its breath just long enough to let the charge sink into the tank's interior. That tiny pause was the difference between a fire outside and an explosion inside. Then the warhead fired. A shaped jet of molten copper tore through the tank like a needle through cloth. Hundreds of grams of JP-8 fuel vaporized on contact. The left wing didn't burn at first. It ballooned, stretched, then burst outward in a flash so bright it washed out the drone's final frame. The fuel tank failed instantly. A fireball punched through the wing root and ripped across the aircraft's spine. The Il-76 shuddered as internal pressure tore open the fuselage. Panels sheared away, metal curled like foil. And then the blast wave rolled straight into the cargo bay. 24 caliber missile warheads were stacked inside, along with oxygen canisters and equipment crates. The warheads were not armed, but sympathetic detonation doesn't care about programming. Heat plus pressure equals disaster. After that, a second blast detonated inside the aircraft. The shockwave broke the plane from the inside. A fire column shot upward, higher than a 6-story building. The glow lit up the glass walls like a sunrise. Security doors blew off their hinges. Then the fuel truck beside the wing caught fire. It ruptured in one violent burst and spilled flaming jet fuel across the tarmac. The runway turned into a moving sheet of fire. Heat rippled across the pavement. Smoke climbed into the sky. Within minutes, Sheremetyevo Airport was paralyzed. Runways shut down. Operations stopped. More than 40,000 travelers were stuck in terminals that smelled of smoke instead of cinnamon and holiday food. Fire crews struggled to reach the blast zone. Fuel kept igniting in waves. Flames curled up the side of the destroyed aircraft. But while Russia scrambled, the people who created this disaster were long gone. 21 minutes before OSA-6 even started its dive, the two sedans used by the Ukrainian team slipped out of their hiding spot. By the time the fuel truck exploded, those cars were already deep inside Moscow's traffic, just two ordinary vehicles in a long line of Christmas shoppers heading toward the city's outer ring. The airport staff still thought they were dealing with an accident, but they weren't. Russia had just lost a $120 million aircraft, 24 Caliber missiles, a full fuel truck, and a major strategic air hub that fed its Black Sea operations. And it all happened because 10 drones launched from a van with Santa painted on the side. What do you think of their clever attack? Where do you think Ukraine is going to hit next? Tell us your opinion in the comment section below. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more updates on this war. Goodbye for now.